you guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Abby and I am a middle school math teacher in Texas, and I'm really glad that you're here today. So today I'm excited because I'm going to be giving y'all the rundown of how I feel like I saved so much money on my classroom setup, especially last year whenever I was a first year teacher. I just figured I would sit down and give you guys my top 5 tips of how to save money, because I feel like, especially with social media and just like pressure and also just like excitement, sometimes we feel like we have to spend like so much money on our classroom, and a lot of it just isn't necessary, and a lot of us also don't have a ton of money to spend. I didn't have a ton of money to spend on my classroom. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on my classroom, and so I really did everything that I could to save money, but I really wanted my classroom to feel nice and cute and welcoming and like a space that my students really wanted to be in. So I'm gonna give you guys my tips on how I feel like I was able to do that and not really break the bank. So without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Really fast, I wanted to shout out my friend Megan, who makes these adorable cups. I will leave her website linked down below, but I drink out of it nonstop, and it's just my favorite cup. I just feel like it's the cutest little thing, and they come with like a glass straw too. So I will link her down below because I feel like, just look how cute it is. It's just the best. So if you're interested in getting one of these cups for yourself, I will link her website down below because you should totally go check out her store. It's so cute. Okay, so my first tip of how to save money whenever you're setting up your classroom is to make your own stuff, okay? So I feel like there's a lot of times where we go to the $5 section in Target, or we see like all the stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers and Instagram and everything, and everybody's constantly going to get new decor, they're buying new bundles on TPT, they're changing up their entire classroom theme, and it just like, there's new stuff every year, and I feel like there's always new things that like kind of go viral where it's just like really popular decor pieces. There's so much stuff though that you can make by yourself with literally just 2 things: cardstock and a laminator. So what you're gonna wanna do, figure out what kind of vibe you want. You can look on Pinterest, you can look on Instagram, look up inspiration, but then don't feel like you have to go and find those things in stores, because there's gonna be marked up, they're gonna be way more expensive than if you just make them yourself, and you might already have some of the stuff that you actually need on hand. So for me, for instance, and I'll try to put like pictures up of my room from this past year, but I had a really big corner in my room that I called the student station, was where all of my students went every single day to get their assignments, to get any paper that they needed, highlighters, pencils if they didn't have one. It was like their place, their home base to go to. And I wanted to make that like a focal point of my room so that they knew where it was, and also because I wanted to make it cute. So what I did was I looked up a font that I like, I downloaded it for free off the internet, and then I ended up using that font, blowing it up, making a stencil, just like printing out an outline of the letters that I wanted, and then using that to cut out those letters on black cardstock that I already had on hand, and then I just laminated them, and they looked so cute. So many people asked me where I got them from. Everybody thought that I bought them at a store, but it's so easy just to make your own lettering, and you can do so much stuff on things like Canva. So I had a lot of different words around my room, on my bulletin boards, or just things that said like show your work in the back, and I would go on Canva, I would type something up, I would use different elements that they had on Canva. There's so much stuff that you can do on there. And then I just got it printed at Office Depot on cardstock, and so that the ink would be really nice and like clear, and I didn't have to pay for the ink myself. And I don't remember what it cost me, but I'll look through my email and see if I can find any of like my old receipts from Office Depot. But I swear you can print so much stuff there for, even on cardstock, for just like $5 or less. Like, it's so cheap.
Hi, Editing Abby here. I just looked back at my previous print orders from Office Depot from last year, and the most I ever spent was $10, and that was for like well over 20 pages, and about half of them were in color. So yeah, all that to say, getting stuff printed is actually really cheap and can save you a lot of money.
And so I would highly recommend you just going online, finding some inspiration, but then go on free websites, find free fonts that you like. Go on Canva, make yourself a free account, and you can make so much of your own stuff and just print it out, get it laminated, and you're gonna end up saving so much money instead of if you were to go to Target, if you were going to go to one of like the teacher specialty stores, or even like buying a ton of stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers. I find that there's a lot of bundles where there's like one or two things in the bundle that I'm like, oh, I really like that. But a lot of times they end up also coming with stuff that I'm not really that crazy about. And you end up paying for the entire thing, but really maybe you only want one or two things out of the bundle. So this way you can look online, look for inspiration, and then make something exactly how you want it and only make as much as you need, and you're gonna save so much money. So that is my biggest tip. Make your own stuff. Okay, my second tip is to shop secondhand. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. For me, I went to a lot of thrift stores. You can go to places like Goodwill, Salvation Army. You can even look on Facebook Marketplace, and usually I would go there to try to find storage options for my classroom. Buying those giant like Sterilite bins and everything brand new can a lot of times really rack up the cost, and there's a lot of times that you can find those exact things, just maybe an older used version at the thrift store. All it needs is a little bit of cleaning. You can even paint it a different color if you want to, and you're good to go. And it's so much cheaper than buying brand new storage bins. So I went, and you can usually find milk crates. That's really helpful in a classroom. You can also find different boxes. I found binders that like literally had never been used and had just been donated. I found bins, like a 3-drawer thing that I used for my grading last year. So you can find so much stuff secondhand, and especially also on Facebook Marketplace. It searches in your entire area. You can even limit it by price point. And that is a super helpful tool as well. So don't be afraid to shop secondhand. Also, if you know of any teachers in your life who are retiring, or you can even make a social media post about it, like on Facebook, saying, hey, I am wondering if there's anybody retiring who wants to get rid of some of their classroom stuff. A lot of times veteran teachers are more than willing to give you some of their old stuff that either they don't use anymore, or if they're retiring, that they just aren't gonna need because they're not gonna be in the classroom anymore. And a lot of times they actually have really good stuff because they've been doing it for so long, and they know how they needed things organized, and that can really benefit you as well. Kind of going off of that point, my third tip is to walk through a veteran teacher's room. So before you go crazy buying a bunch of different stuff that Instagram tells you that you need, or that your favorite teacher influencer has in their room, walk through a veteran teacher's room and see how they have things set up and what they actually use. This was something that I really wish that I would have done before I started setting up my classroom this past year, because my mentor teacher ended up having some really helpful things in her classroom that I didn't realize were so helpful until a few weeks into school, whenever I was drowning and I was like, help me, what do I do? So I would definitely recommend going and walking through a veteran teacher's room, whether it's at your school or whether it's just at any school or just a family friend, somebody that you know, because I promise you they have different things and ways that they figured out that organizational wise works for them. And a lot of times it ends up being pretty simple, and a lot of like the extra cutesy things that people buy, like a giant teacher toolbox or stuff like that, a lot of times you just end up not needing, and that money just would have been spent better elsewhere and probably would have cost less as well. So that's my third tip. Walk through a veteran teacher's room, see what they actually use, see what actually works for them and what's realistic to have in the classroom before you just like go crazy buying things because you think that they're cute or you just get super excited. My fourth tip is to be realistic about your students. So what I mean by this is, for instance, I spent money buying really cute throw pillows that I had in my head that I was gonna have this little hangout space in my room and this little corner, and I was gonna have throw pillows and a little rug. No. I teach middle schoolers, specifically this past year, I taught 7th grade. When I tell y'all, my 12-year-old boys ruined those within like the first couple months of school. Like, it was just not worth it, and nobody missed it once I took them out because they were just gross. Because people weren't really using it, or the ones that were using it just ended up like getting Jolly Ranchers all over it, or getting it all dirty, or they just got ruined. They weren't used for their purpose, and it just wasn't realistic for me to think that a bunch of 12-year-olds would really care about having super cute throw pillows. So just things like that. Evaluate what grade level that you are teaching, evaluate the space in your room and how it's best used. That was another thing, is I had a lot of kids in my room in every class last year, and I really didn't have room for a cutesy corner where everybody could chill out in. I was just like trying to force it to happen, and it just like didn't work, and it wasn't worth it to try to force that space. And it actually was a lot better once I got rid of those things, and it ended up making more room for all of the desks that we had and more room for people to move around and to walk. And so look at your rosters, try to look at your numbers, look at the size of your room, think about the age group that you're teaching, and ask yourself, is this realistic for this age group? Are they really going to care? Is this going to benefit us, or is my money better spent elsewhere, or am I just better saving money by not buying these things that, even though we might think that they're really cute, they just might not be very realistic for your classroom. And then my fifth and final tip is to reuse and repurpose. So this is a huge thing that I did this past year, and I'm so glad, because now that it's the summertime, and yeah, there's a couple things that I kind of want to revamp for my room this year, but a lot of the things I was able to save and I'm going to be able to reuse this year. Now, that doesn't mean that my room is going to be staying the exact same, or that your room has to stay the exact same from year to year. I know that it's really fun to kind of change things up, and it's just nice to freshen up your space. That's totally fine, but I would just keep that in mind as you're making things or as you're buying things. Ask yourself, is this too niche in like a certain theme or a certain color palette where I'm gonna get sick of this later and I'm gonna wanna rebuy everything and not be able to reuse anything? So for me, a lot of the lettering that I chose, I tried to keep it neutral, or a lot of my lettering had more of like a black background, or black was like a major color, because I knew that if I wanted to change anything up, pretty much anything would go with them. And so all of my lettering, all of my things that I spent so much time laminating this past year, I'm going to be able to reuse this year, and I don't have to spend my time this summer remaking all of it. Now, I do have some other things that I want to add to my classroom, some different colors that I'm adding, some things that didn't survive this past year, and that's totally okay. But a lot of the stuff I'm able to reuse. As far as repurposing goes, also think about, okay, if you do want to change a color in your room, or if you do want to change a theme a little bit, is there something that you already have that you could repurpose? Could you repaint it? Could you find something at home, maybe decor-wise in your house, that you're not using that you would like to switch it out with? Is there stuff that you already have that maybe you didn't use last year that you forgot about, and now that you're like unpacking your classroom, you're like, oh, I forgot that I had that. Maybe I can use that this year. There's just so many ways to repurpose things, and so many ways to kind of change things up. And sometimes it's even just going to the dollar store and maybe buying a few new things that are in a new color palette that you want to integrate, and that can even just totally change the vibe and freshen up your space in the way that you want. So definitely think about how you can reuse things and how you can repurpose things, and that goes also for thrifting. Sometimes you have to be a little bit imaginative whenever you're at the thrift store and ask yourself, okay, could I repurpose this, clean it up a little bit, slap some paint on it, and do I have a new storage element in my classroom that I can use somewhere? Because like I said, there's a lot of good things that you can find at the thrift store and in secondhand places. It just might not exactly be the color that you want, but that's a super easy fix, and typically it costs less to do that than to buy something brand new in a very specific color palette that you want. That is all of my tips for saving money on your classroom this year. I hope that, especially for some of you first year teachers, that was helpful. I would say if you are going to invest in something, invest in a laminator. I know that might sound so weird in terms of like a classroom decor thing, but like I said, you can do so much with just cardstock and a laminator. There's so many things you can do. You can essentially create your entire classroom theme out of just cardstock and a laminator. So if you are going to spend money and you are going to invest kind of in one bigger ticket item, which I'm pretty sure laminators are only like $50 or so, or at least the one that I have.
Hi, Editing Abby again. This is the laminator I have, and I got the bundle that includes 200 laminating sheets. The bundle with the laminator and the sheets comes out to $55, but if you just buy the laminator by itself, it comes out to around 20. So yeah, okay, that's all. Bye.
I'll link the one that I have down below so that y'all can go and look on Amazon if you want to purchase it. But I'm pretty sure they're only like $50 and it is 100% so worth it. If you're gonna buy one thing, definitely purchase a laminator because that kind of opens up the door to so many possibilities for you as you create your own classroom decor, as you want to preserve things and reuse them for next year. That's just a really helpful tool. So that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful to you. If you enjoyed it and you want to stick around with me on this little corner of the internet, I would love it if you wanted to hit the subscribe button. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.